When did you realize, okay, this is it? I was down playing. Let me stop all this. What
Yeah,
moment?
I was I was actually on a walk. I can remember this clear as day with a friend. We used to get together in the morning and walk. And I had been very stressed. And then all of a sudden I just started crying and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And it was a client before I had gone for the walk. I had checked an email and they were demanding just one more thing. So that was kind of like it was the culmination of the breaking point. And so there was a lot of symptoms that had all culminated to this point. I was burnt out. I was working all the time and making less money because I was efficient. I was using that trading dollars for hours model. So this is probably about a year, 18 months into my business. And then I get this email demanding one more thing that's not inside the scope. And I just was at the brink and I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this way anymore.
Welcome to the Wealth Wife Show, where we explore not just how to create wealth, but how to protect it, retain it, and expand it financially, strategically, and energetically. So, today's conversation is one I have been waiting for a long time, especially because it speaks to so many women who are brilliant at whatever they're doing, yet quietly undervalue themselves when it comes to money. So, my guest today is Linda Hunt, the founder of Some Solutions and the author of the upcoming book, The Money Conversations: Speak the Truth, Set Standards, and Get Paid Without Apology. Oh my God, I love the name. Linda is a pioneer in remote accounting services with decades of corporate and operational experience. But what makes her work truly powerful is how she bridges structure, clarity, and nervous system capacity, helping service based entrepreneurs build businesses that actually support their value. She teaches women how to hold calm, grounded money conversations not by memorizing scripts, but by building businesses that can confidently sustain their brilliance. So, our topic for today is why women undervalue wealth and how that ends. Linda, I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Welcome to the Wealth Vibe Show.
Thank you so much, Vinky, for having me today. I'm excited to be here as well.
I can't wait to hear your journey. So let's start with your journey. You have worked in the corporate world. You were an early pioneer of remote accounting, and
Yes.
now you focus deeply on pricing, boundaries, and money conversations. You're
Yes.
teaching so many people. So, what moment or pattern made you realize that women weren't struggling with money just because of skill, but because of how they were taught to hold to it?
So it goes back to my own personal journey, right? I was in the corporate world. I was a drop. I left corporate without a plan. If you ever read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, he talks about an entrepreneurial seizure, and I had one. I was fed up with corporate. I had been traveling, so I'll tell you the little segue there real quick. I had been traveling 95% of the time for about 4 years. And I got to
Mhm.
know my limo driver. It was a shared limo service. I wasn't of the echelon where I had a private car, and I got to know the owner well. And I started backseat consulting with him, and I was really transforming their business. And so anyway, I got fed up with corporate. I left. I had him as a client. I ended up getting one more. But what happened, Vinky, is when I left corporate, two things happened. One, I left all the structure that I had, right? Corporate has a lot of processes and structures and they handle certain things. So next thing you know, I'm my own business owner. Now I have to think about pricing and I have to think about operations and I have to think about all these other things. And in additionally, I had an identity crisis because when I left, I was really building the operations and helping them with their pricing and helping them find missed revenue. And here I am calling myself, and please, bookkeepers out there, I am not downgrading what you do. I actually have an accounting services and bookkeeping division in my company, but I was only holding myself out as a bookkeeper. So I was undervaluing myself, right? But that stemmed back to childhood, right? Because our money stories originate from trauma, and trauma doesn't have to be, and again, I'm not downplaying anything. Sometimes trauma is physical, sometimes it's emotional abuse, it's all kinds of things. I had a very basic childhood, but I learned, and a good parents, but I learned very early on that in order to be seen, I had to people please. I had to take on you're chuckling. Does it sound familiar? Right? I had to take on a lot of responsibility. And the more responsibility I took on, the less visible I became. And that translated into my business. And that to me, Vinky, is one of the core reasons women struggle with money, because when you're a service provider, it's your voice, it's your heart, it's who you are, and that can blur with naming your price. So it's so entangled and rich and lovely, and I had to learn how to untangle all of that for myself. So
That's true. And it's like centuries and centuries of trauma throughout the womanhood. It's not just
ancestral.
one person, it's gonna take long time
Yes.
to get out of that. But I wanted to ask you, what
Yes.
was your moment of realization or enlightenment, I was gonna say. When did you realize, okay, this is it. I was down playing. Let me stop all this. What
Yeah.
moment was
So I was I was actually on a walk. I can remember this clear as day with a friend. We used to get together in the morning and walk. And I had been very stressed. And then all of a sudden I just started crying, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And it was a client. Before I had gone for the walk, I had checked an email, and they were demanding just one more thing. So that was kind of like, it was the culmination of the breaking point. And so there was a lot of symptoms that had all culminated to this point. I was burnt out. I was working all the time and making less money because I was efficient. I was using that trading dollars for hours model. So this is probably about a year, 18 months into my business. And then I get this email demanding one more thing that's not inside the scope. And I just was at the brink, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this way anymore. So I
it?
hope that is that answering the question? It was really
Yeah.
it was an emotional breakdown. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, it was an emotional breakdown. And then what I did is I did something so uncharacteristic. I hadn't taken any time off. I didn't do anything, right? I pulled back, and I started to analyze what I knew something was off, and I knew it was in my pricing. And I did something very uncharacteristic for women. I think women are afraid. I had a lot of male clients when I first started, which is interesting because now I have more female clients than male, but that's neither here nor there. But I did something very uncharacteristic. I went to a couple of trusted clients and I said, how do you see my services? What do my services do for you? And they started to give me words and phrases that I never would have thought of. And the key was I started to learn that, oh, I'm selling a transformation. I'm selling a result
Oh
as
yeah, I
opposed to,
really like that. I really like that. And now you're teaching women, So when you
yeah,
started noticing this pattern across so many women, what surprised you the most about, how they're holding wealth, not
yeah,
earning it, but just holding it? I think that's the biggest stigma right there because they don't
holding.
look at it like it's an energy. I'm not sure.
Right. So you're right. There's a huge disconnection, right, between we're taught, okay, so this has so many layers. For first of all, we live in a patriarchal society, right? And what I mean by that is that when you go out and get a job, you learn that you're basically trading hours for dollars, right? That's what we're doing. When we have no skill. So when we start our own business, we kind of leave, like I left and I started using that model, and that model doesn't work because that model doesn't account for value, right? It doesn't account for the intrinsic value that we bring to the table. Women, and there are so many brilliant women right out there, and we tend to compare ourselves to each other. And while we're lifting each other up, at the same time, we're going, why is that working for them and not working for me? Right? So we have a
Mhm.
little bit of that imposter syndrome going on. But what's happening is we are afraid. I'm going to say it, I think I'm going to say it this way. We are afraid to be fully seen, right? It is scary to show up and be a powerful woman. There are a lot, as you know, like throughout the years, like I'm going to go back to, and it's so funny. I don't know why I've been thinking about Martha Stewart today, but maybe this is the reason because, but do you remember when she got put in jail? She got put in jail for insider trading when there are
Mhm.
plenty of men who have done that, right? But because she was a powerful woman, she had a reputation and she did get minimum secure, whatever. It doesn't matter. She was unapologetic in owning her value and owning her worth. And she turned how to run a wonderful household into a brand, right? So women don't really, we we're afraid, like I really teach financial clarity. That's what I teach. And it shows up in a variety of ways. It shows up maybe in your accounting and bookkeeping. It shows up in your um, it shows up in your pricing. Really, what I'm doing is I'm connecting for these women between I'm connecting, I'm helping them understand that it's not just a mindset thing because we can do all the affirmations that we want, but we have to regulate it in our body. Because if we don't believe that we're, let's just say, if we don't believe that we're worth, a $10,000 rate in our body, that everything's energetic and that gets communicated, it gets picked up on, right? Go
You
ahead.
said you said that you have a model, right? That you're teaching people, and you have to follow that model. You follow that model yourself. What model is it? Can you share that?
Yeah, so basically one of the things that I had to do was pricing, like let's just talk about pricing. Pricing is not math. Pricing is energetic. Pricing is nervous system regulation. So I knew when I was first doing my business, I was basically paying my clients to work for them. So I knew that, let's just say I was charging $25 an hour. I knew that I had to go to a package rate and I knew that that rate needed, say, to be $100 an hour. There was such a big gap between the $25 and the $100. I
Mm-hmm.
had to, I started doing the mindset affirmations, right? Money comes to me easily. Like, I don't know if you can feel that, but that feels very empty, right? What you
Exactly.
really want to do is say that phrase and then sink into your body. Like money comes to me easily. When I sink into, say, my root chakra or my solar plexus or just into my body, you want to feel where the discomfort comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to ignore the discomfort. We want to thank it because it was there and it was protecting us.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to say to it is that that's okay. You don't longer need to protect me. We we can do something different. Um,
Take a chance.
take a chance.
Mhm.
Yes, take a chance. So, um, and the thing is, it really is about sitting and regulating. So, what I used to do is this very simple exercise, and I call it the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 reset. And it would
Mhm.
help me to regulate. It's a very simple exercise. So let's just say I wanted to raise my rate to some, from $25 to $100, and I had to I would say I would say my rate out loud. My rate is $100. And then I would ground myself. So I put my feet on the floor. It's going to sound silly, but these actually does work. You put your feet on your floor, you actually feel the seat beneath you, and then you name 5 things in the room that you can see. You name 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that are textural, right? So like, oh, I feel, the wool on wool scarf on my neck. 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And then you say your rate again. And every time you read, and it's repetition, right? It's allowing your body to feel safe at that new level. This applies to money. This applies to anything that you want it to apply to. But that's the exercise I would recommend people start with.
I really like that because what that exercise is bringing you to the present moment. And it's
Yes.
all about the presence.
Yes.
Because all these affirmations, why we think it's broken, I will let you talk about that too. Why we think it's broken, why it's not working.
Yeah.
Because
There's a
people are either
disconnect.
living in the past or living in the future.
Yes.
Nobody's in the present moment. So this exercise, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you
Yes.
just teaching people the presence. Be
Yes.
present in the moment and
And
feel
feel it.
how you're feeling in the body when you're
Yes.
making an affirmation, because that's very important.
Yes.
Acknowledging that and saying thank you. Be grateful
Yes.
for that, how you're feeling. It means you have already received it. So
Correct.
that's very important step that you've outlined. Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask you this question, that
Yes.
what is broken about the old standard, and why, according to this old standard, people, I mean, the women, especially, not people, they undervalue themselves. Why don't they realize their own worth? And earlier you mentioned one more thing. You say women compare with each other. Why?
We do. Well, I think as women, we are really open to learning from one another, but at the same time, when something is working, say for someone else, but it's not quite working for us, and we can't quite put our finger on it, we can't quite figure out what's different. And women are unique. Everyone is unique, but women are unique. And it's really important that we operate in our business according to our own energetic flow. Okay. So, and I learned this when I started teaching other bookkeepers, right? Because that was my first audience. I started realizing other bookkeepers knew how to do the work, but they didn't know the business behind bookkeeping. And there was a lot of comparison. Well, they're charging this and they're doing that. But yes, bookkeeping is bookkeeping is bookkeeping, but it's the way you approach it. It's the specialty, that the way you deliver that service to the customer, right? To the client.
Mm-hmm.
As service providers, we're not meant for everyone. We're not meant to be everyone's client, but women need to get in touch. We have to operate from our masculine energy and our feminine energy. And we have to trust our flow. Our intuition is there to guide us. We know when your body knows, right? Your body keeps score. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just say your colleague, so I personally study human design. I am not a human design specialist at all, but I am a projector. And that is one of the energy types. Well, projector is supposed to be invited in, right, to give their expertise, whereas a generator is out there and they're making things happen. I was comparing myself to all these other bookkeeping firms that were out there, and they were generators and they were just amassing all of these clients. Whereas my business model was more about what was right for me was having smaller, larger clients and creating that relational. So, yes, women, let's compare ourselves to each other. Let's learn from one another, but then let's go back and trust that we know the flow of which we're supposed to operate our business from. So it goes back to the body. It goes back to the body.
That's true. And you're talking about the body and the nervous system. And then you said earlier, pricing is set by the nervous system. I think I read in your bio too. So can you just go a little bit deeper and help us understand, how the nervous system correlates with money or how your body feels before you even have the words for it,
Right.
or how to recognize it.
Yeah. So really, I think there's a lot of, I think the first sign is something's amiss, right? Like you get a ping in your inbox, somebody just hired you to do something, but you feel a pit in your stomach. That's because you know that you're providing more value than you're currently being charged for, right?
Mhm.
Um, Another sign that there's a misalignment is you're delivering, say, a transformation or a result to your client. Say it used to take 3 sessions, but now it used to take sessions, excuse me. Now it takes 3. So you've evolved, you deepened your experience. These are all little signals that come from the body. And the one of the things is as business owners, we are wearing many, many hats, right? And we are going all of the time. A practice that I have every single day when I sit down to my desk, I take 10 minutes. I put my feet on the floor, and I am not the type of person who can meditate, but I can journal, right? Like I can meditate, I shouldn't say that. I can meditate, but I'm not a visualizer. I like to write. And what I do is I actually write out whatever's on my mind about my business. And what it does is it gets it out and onto paper. And then you're creating space. So first of all, you're getting that out of you and you're creating space. We just need as women to slow down. We need to slow down. That's number one. We need to trust and connect with our bodies. We need to, because the nervous system is a muscle that can be strengthened. So while I have specific exercises that people can do, like when we're talking about their pricing or they're trying to raise the rates or renegotiate, I'm trying to make this more generalized. But journal, connect with your body, because the body is going to tell you when something is amiss. It's going to. And then women, we have to interrogate when we have those limiting beliefs come up. We have to interrogate them because and find out why we believe they're true, because they're not true. Because and the thing is, it's like, oh gosh. Okay, so this happened not that long ago. I used to have a belief that no one wanted to pay for bookkeeping when I first started out. Nobody wants to pay for this. Everyone thinks whatever. I got an email. It was a client, a colleague of a client, the colleague of a colleague vetting for their client. And the email said that they kept the client kept the bookkeeping in-house because they wanted to keep costs down. And I have to tell you that that email triggered that limiting belief that I had. Okay, so the first thing I did, in the past, I would have immediately responded, right? I would have immediately responded and it would have been emotional and it would have just put me at a disadvantage. And that's the thing with women. We have to step back and go, huh, get curious. Why?
That's true.
Why did that set me off?
Mhm.
And then I interrogated it and I went back to my process. And my process is whatever we take on a bookkeeping client, we do an evaluation. That's our process. So I emailed after I had emotionally regulated myself, right? My nervous system, I said, because I felt the twinge in my body. And the thing is, once you start to do this, if you start to do this every day for 5 minutes, right? And you just say a statement about money and then feel into your body, I promise you by the second week, you're going to already start to notice that signal. It's not a hard thing to reconnect. Um, and anyway, I went back to my process. And my process is what protects myself and my energy. And my process supports how I want to operate in business. Because to me, having work-life balance is important, and you can have it. You have to protect it. You have to boundary it. And that's the other thing women need to do. Like we are pulled in so many different directions. We're moms, we're caretakers, we're business owners, we're phenomenal. We're phenomenal. In a way, we have to learn from the men on how to compartmentalize our lives a little bit, but we do that through boundaries. We do that through being so vigilant of our time. Like I don't take meetings on Mondays and Fridays unless it's with my own team, right? It's like I set that boundary years and years ago. When I first did it, it felt so uncomfortable. Now it's a normal thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it it's like you are the only one but who can set your boundaries and support them. But the thing is, that works for me. It's
That's true. I think it should work for everyone. Thanks for sharing that. But see, women, like you said, we can do multiple things, multitask, or like you say, women has, I think they might have more neurons than men as well because they're doing so many things. There's so many pathways. And I just
yes,
wonder sometimes, the brain is wired differently. So maybe it's
it is.
bigger too. Who knows, because I'm not a brain surgeon or brain doctor. I do not have insight into that, but just speaking at that level. So you mentioned earlier, I think before the recording too, you were saying there are some words or some scripts that you've been using to rewire your brain. That's what I'm going to say, because women are already so powerful. They are multitaskers. They can do basically anything whatever they put their mind into because
Right.
they are equipped with that kind of I would say
Yes.
mindset, but they're always downplaying or underplaying, not knowing their true value. That's what the whole episode is about. That's what we started. So I wanted to hear from you. You mentioned affirmations earlier. You shared with us the system 5 4 3 2 1, and then
Mhm.
before the recording you mentioned you use some scripts, some powerful words that helps you regulate the nervous system as well as body to expand to hold wealth.
Right. Right. So I start with a limiting belief. That's the first place. So if I have a limiting belief that it's hard to get business, right? I will first change that and say an endless stream of clients come to me, right? So you start with the negative and then you switch it to a positive. But when you first start to say it, your body's going to know, well, that's not true. Your mind's going to go, that's not true, right? So so you have to acknowledge that it's not true today. So you have to kind of bridge the gap between your body and your mind. So you have to go, that's not, you are correct. That is not true today. Where do I feel in my body? So you're asking your body, like, where do I feel I'm not worthy of that in my body? So you're asking your body to show you. And it could be, you get a pain, I don't know, in your toe. You could get a pain. And then what you want to do is it's really just, I know that sounds crazy, but it's really, and I really focus on the chakras, right? You put your hand on your solar plexus, you put your hand um, on your, wherever you're feeling it, and then you ask that part of you, tell me more, and you just listen. And you may not get an answer, and that could be the frustrating thing. You might not get an answer right away because I know when I was clearing, when I first started doing this work, I didn't even realize what I was doing. But when I first started doing this, um, I wasn't necessarily getting an answer, but I kept at it. And just for a few minutes, and sometimes I would do it a couple times a day, your body will tell you. And then when you're out for a walk or you're cooking dinner or you're even doing something else, all of a sudden you're going to get the answer. Because what that does is it creates space. So we take the negative, we make it a positive, we ask our body, why do we think that's not true? And then we allow space for the answer to come through.
Thank you for sharing that. So, for women who are listening or who are building wealth, but still second guessing their worth, what's the first internal shift that has to happen before anything external changes?
The first thing that has to happen is they have to embody it. Not just here, they have to connect the mind and the body. You have to embody it. Um, and what I want to say is you can't go from, you know, some people can. And so there is a caveat to this. Some people can go from I make, 5 figures to six figures, 7 figures. Most of us have to step that, right? So play with, how about this one, Binky? Play with having a financial floor. This is a good exercise for everybody. Say to yourself, I want, let's say, $10,000 to come in every single month as my financial floor, no matter what. And just ask yourself that question and say, and does that feel too low for you? Does that feel too high for you? Does that feel unobtainable? And work from there, right? Go to a number that you feel comfortable with, then double it. And then that's where you want to focus and you want to work on it because it really is the mind body connection. Because I could say, oh, I'm going to make 7 figures tomorrow. I don't believe that, right? That's not
I
going to
agree
happen.
on that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree on that. And you said it very well because, I'm gonna go back to my teaching days. When I was teaching the MBA program at Cal State, and I used to ask this question the first day to my class, why you're here? What is
Okay.
your end goal? And people used to stumble or just ramble, because they do not know. And for me, it's like knowing your future address, and that's what you're talking about. So
Yes.
if you know your end goal, you can figure out the GPS to get there. But
Yes.
if you don't even know what you want, how are you gonna get it? Very
How are you
simple.
going to, right? Right.
So
And
I hundred, go ahead.
yeah, go, please.
No, I was
You,
saying I 100% agree with you, whatever you said. So it's like the important thing right here. You need to know your future address. And
yes.
trust me, don't worry about how you will get there. You will get there.
You will get
You'll
there. You
figure
don't need
out
to
a
know the
GPS to
how,
get there. Mhm.
right? Your job is not the how. Your job is the what. And the other thing I want to caveat is it does not have to be some big lofty goal. Play with something small.
Smaller, small, small, baby
Build the
steps.
muscle. And as you build the muscle, what ends up happening is you're
Mhm.
building the confidence, you're aligning your what you think with what you feel and what you say. And when all three of those are in alignment, women are unstoppable. Women are unstoppable.
Great. Let's talk about your book. First of all, congratulations for your book.
Thank
It's
you.
coming
Thank you
out
very
this
much.
year very soon.
Very
The
soon.
Money Conversations and
Yes.
launching pretty soon, right?
Yes.
So, why is this conversation especially urgent right now?
Yeah.
What do you hope the readers will take away from your book?
So, what I hope people will take away from this book is that they are equipped to talk about money, right? They are equipped to have these conversations. They are not scary. Money is an emotionally charged subject. Um, and this book gives the container or the process, like, here's what you need to do. Here's how, take the frameworks, and there's everything's actionable in this. We talk about the belief it's addressing. I give a process, I give a script that I hope people will take and mold into themselves and practice this, and that they will then be able to state their rate with confidence or renegotiate something that's no longer in alignment, or not be afraid that if they raise their rates, clients are going to leave. Because I promise you, like, when you align, things will come in. And this book is really the culmination of everything I went through when I first started my journey in my own business. And it's something I've lived through and things I have taught for 20 plus years.
Great. So, can you give us a small sneak peek into one of your framework or your process?
Sure,
Um, mhm.
sure. I have the book here. Just let me quickly look for something. Let's see here. Um, All right. So let's see, raising your rates without, let's see. How about this? I think this one would, if the underlying belief is if I charge too much, clients won't want to work with me. So the new perspective is your pricing reflects the transformation your service delivers, not the hours you log. So the key there is the transformation. And we have been taught as a society that value is in the amount of time you spend. That is not true. Value is in the result, it's in the transformation being delivered. So the mindset shift comes from my service creates outcomes. The investment reflects what that's worth, not just what it costs. And an affirmation is I stand in the value of my work. I communicate my pricing with clarity, calm, and conviction. So when your clients understand the result, they stop fixating on the rate. So our job is because and invest. So think about this. We always find the money to buy what it is we want. And I want everyone to think about this. Like if you have a favorite hairdresser, which I do, if you have a favorite hairdresser, right? And let's just say it costs $300 to go to that hairdresser, but you know the result that you're going to get. You're very clear, and you're gonna find that money to get that haircut every time you want that haircut. So just take that away. When you're clear about the result that you're getting, you will spend the money. So
I
that's
love
why
it. I
people to take.
love it. The clarity is very important. It's such a simple example, but very powerful. It totally resonates with me because clarity is very important in life. And the second thing comes the focus because, okay, then you are clear about it, what you want, and the focus on the results now, and how you're going to get there. Like I said, GPS earlier. Then you're going to figure out your GPS, how to get there. Thank you so much. So this brings us to a rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 5 questions.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's gonna be surprise questions, spontaneous answers, one word or one sentence only. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. What daily habit helps you stay grounded?
What daily? I do this little exercise routine of stretches and mindfulness, just making sure I'm feeling every part of my body.
Okay, that's good. What do people tend to overcomplicate about money?
That money's complicated and they don't understand it.
And that's a good one. What do you think is the most important underrated form of wealth?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. That we already have it. We are already abundant.
It's
All
just
right.
change of
And
mindset.
yes, yes.
Okay, so next one, when you need clarity, what do you usually do?
When I need clarity, I will do something that gets me back into my body, whether that's going and baking something, taking a walk. But it is getting up. I'm usually at my desk and it's getting up and it's moving. It's some kind of movement. It is some kind of,
Okay, that's good. And the last question, what is your wealth vibe?
what is my wealth vibe? Hmm. Um, Money is simple, easy, and freedom. Those are the three words that come to mind when you say that to me. So, freedom.
That's good. Thank you so much for being with me today. And I really appreciate your work that you're doing with women, kind of helping them, giving themselves permission to stop apologizing for their true value, and kind of believe in
Yes.
themselves. So I
Yes.
really like your work. And then somebody wants to reach out to you, connect with you to learn more. Share with us your
Yeah.
contact information.
Yeah. So, I would love people to visit me at my website, sumsolutions.com, SUMSOLUTIONS.com. And if you're looking for some kind of financial clarity, book a discovery call with me. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Great. I love that. Thank you so much again for being here with me and all the work that you're doing to make this make a difference in this world. I think that's it's all about this life.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wealth Vibe Show. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget your free gift. Download the Busy Professional's Guide to Real Estate Investing at loombainvest.com. See you next time with another amazing guest and another powerful conversation.